Jasper, faculty librarian on South Campus, and I'm here tonight at the Literary Feast, and I'm here with...
Dorothy Easley. I teach math here on Central Campus.
Great, thank you, thank you. I have a few questions for you about this evening. First of all, what are your current projects, or what have you worked on in the past?
Right now I am working on a project. It will be both educational and fun, and I'm not going to say too much about that because I'd kind of like it to be a surprise when I complete it. But what I have just completed earlier this year, I co-authored a book entitled Island in the Sun. And I co-authored it with a pastor, a retired pastor, 80 years old, who's been a personal friend. He, in fact, is the pastor who, when I was 3 years old, baptized my own father. And has been a close friend ever since. And he has had this desire to put his family Florida history story into print for many years. And he's a Florida native, so am I. And my ancestors were pioneers too in Florida.
Great.
And so we worked together on it. He only had the rudimentary details of what his family had gone through during the Seminole War and the Civil War. And what we were able to do, we hope, is show a side that maybe has been forgotten of the Florida during those years. We tried to really show the personal suffering of the Seminoles in that period, and then in the Civil War we tried to portray a group that has kind of been forgotten in history, and that's Florida abolitionists, who were his family members, and they paid a high price. They suffered greatly for their convictions, and we tried to show what Florida was like in those days, and the impact of the conflict with the Seminoles and then the Civil War at that time.
I think Florida is often overlooked when it comes to the Civil War.
Absolutely.
And the history of Florida, and it's such a rich history.
Yes,
so
it is.
I think that's a great idea to put that down, into words. Is it a biography or a nonfiction, or is this based on more of a fiction story?
It's a novel, but it's based on the true story.
So it's historical
of what
fiction.
happened. It's historical fiction. Yes.
Oh, very good. Wonderful. Another question for you. When and why did you begin writing? What inspired you?
My mother was a freelance writer. So from the time I was a kid, my mother just instilled in us reading and writing. And so before I was out of elementary school, I was writing little stories and things like that. But yes, it came from my mother.
That's great. That's great. Let's see, what was the hardest part about writing the book, Island in the Sun?
Okay, the hardest part was the emotional aspect, because in order to write this, we only had basic details, so we had to fill in a lot, and I did a whole lot. The main character, her name happens by coincidence is the same as mine, Dorothy. But I had to imagine what she was going through and what she endured, and actually write that. And I mean, sometimes I would dream about it.
Right.
And it was just, it was emotionally taxing. And we spent about 1.5 years on that.
You're still feeling the emotional connection to
yes,
the story?
Yes, really.
Yes,
Of course, yeah.
Do you have any advice for writers? Or for students who want to become writers?
Yes, first of all, you should read. Read a lot. And then the second thing is put discipline into it. It's just like anything else, that where you want to succeed. Even when you don't feel like it, you have to sit down and do something.
Right.
So reading and disciplining yourself.
Very good advice. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and I'm looking forward to the Literary Feast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.